Hi everyone, Little Sodor Studios, and I'm here today to talk about one of the customs I made for the Adventures on the Rails series. Hopefully getting more videos and posts out to you all soon. Not just from me, but of course from uh, Adventures on the Rails. A lot of good stuff coming, and I can't wait to see it. A lot of us are working on this project, whether it's customs, voice acting, or whatever. I've been working on the customs for this project, and they wanted me to talk about the first custom. At least I'm pretty sure it's the first custom. It's been a long time since I've made this, that I made for the series. Whether it's going to be a picture on your screen, I'm not sure. I don't have the engine with me anymore, so I just sent in an audio recording to the person that has the locomotive, and they can kind of decide or what they want to do and how they want to post this video. We're going to try to keep it about 5 minutes or so, um, but let's go ahead and start talking about this. So the initial concept for this model was it's just going to kind of be a general background locomotive without a face. It's going to be an LMS engine. I can't remember the exact context on why it was going to be LMS, but that's just what we went with. I looked around and what I had. I didn't want to buy anything. I don't think anyone in the group wanted to buy, a model off of eBay. So I kind of looked around and saw in my collection what I had or who I had a couple of that I didn't mind parting out or sending out, and that I wasn't going to use later on. So this is a Henry locomotive or engine front, and the tender is from a Gordon or an Edward. I'm sure that really doesn't matter. It's got that general Fowler's tender shape. I know it's Edward or Gordon's, just based on all the models I have sitting around in my custom bin. um, so the original talk, like I said, it was going to be an LMS engine. So right then and there, we knew it was going to be probably going to be like that darker red color they have. I used what's called barn red, out of the Apple Barrel acrylic line, and that's the kind of paint I used, Apple Barrel acrylic. I can pick it up at my local Joann's, pretty easy for me to do. Has pretty much every color I want to work with in various shades, and I kind of make it work too. I don't like to stray away from the Apple Barrel, just because then colors don't always match up. But anyways, we decided to go with the dark red. We went back and forth between the lining color. I think I pushed more towards the white lining instead of a gold like a standard LMS, solely because I use stickers in this model, which I don't always do. I have a sticker sheet with white letters and numbers, so I think I went ahead and wanted to use that to kind of speed up the engine getting out, because freehanding the lettering takes a while. From the standpoint of not every letter always turns out perfect or whatever, so that's kind of a trial and error with that. It just takes time. With this one, there's a little bit of a rush order on it, so I just went ahead with the sticker option. So once we knew the colors we had, once we kind of knew what the general we wanted to look like, I got started. Usually takes a couple coats. I try to start with the base coat, depending on the locomotive I'm doing, the kind of lining and detail I want to do to it. When I paint over the main section, like the boiler, sometimes I don't paint over the stripes or the red lining that's already on the existing model, so I can use as a reference. Then what I'll do is I'll paint over the lining after I already have a base coat, a light base coat of the general color, paint over the original lining that I can still kind of see as a guideline for the new lining. And that's the same thing I do with the handrail. On this one, you can see there's a handrail. And so, like I said, the base coat, maybe the two base coats, are pretty light and thin. You can still see the original color of the model, the original detail on it. So I use that if I want to copy any of that lining. That's when I come in and do the lining. If I don't care about the lining, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to change it up, whatever. Then I just paint whatever the base color is, the main color of the locomotive is going to be. I just paint the whole boiler, the whole cab, everything like that. The running board and the buffer beams depends on what I'm doing, but usually those will stay the color that they are. On my engines, I like to paint buffer beams, so on the front and the back, whether it's a tank engine, a tender engine. So you got that bright red color that's very common in a lot of our the Thompson Friends characters. So on the tender, on the back, in the image you can't see, at least the one I'm looking at, on the back of the tender, the lower part is painted red to look like a buffer beam, and on the front of the locomotives, as you should be able to see here in the photo I'm looking at, another one. that's got a red on the front. This running board, or we went with black. Um, that's fine. Black just sped it up. Like I said, I think there was a little bit of rush order on this, so we tried to. I tried to pick colors. The darker the color, the easier it is. The lighter the color, the more coats you got to put on to cover up the original base coat. But areas in the model I don't paint, unless there's damage to any of the like the underneath where the wheels are, where the axles are. If there's no chipping, major chipping there, I won't worry about painting that. If I'm going with black, as far as like the top of the cab, the windows of the cab, and the smoke box, as long as there's no big damage to it, I don't paint it. It leaves that original shine and gives a contrast in color and texture to the rest of the model. If there's damage to it, then I gotta paint it, and I paint the whole thing so that everything looks even. Because whereas the Thomas models kind of have a shine, a gloss to it. I use a matte paint, so it's kind of weird, at least in person when you look at it. If you, okay, I'm going to paint part of the cab because half the cab's damaged, I'm not going to paint the other half. And then when you look down from at the top, it looks really weird. so uh, it's kind of all or nothing with that the best I can. Then last thing I want to talk about, if you're looking at the same photo I'm looking at, this model doesn't have a face, and I went ahead and I used a small Lego dish on the front of it. The small Lego dish, if you're into Lego, you know exactly the piece I'm talking about, more or less. The smoke box, again, I try not to paint unless there's major damage to it. On this one, you see this frosting kind of effect to it. So I found out with the glue I use a Gorilla Glue wood, metal, plastic kind of mixed a glue that's good for all three of those materials. All three, yeah. And what happens is after about 24 hours, the chemical reaction, after it's all done taking place, sometimes this frosting effect can happen with plastic. And I know it's about 24 hours based on some other models I did, and also because I probably sent this model out within about 10 hours, 12 hours of completion. So I didn't let it sit and wait for the frosting effect. I kind of forgot about that. Usually, at least when I notice it and start to notice it, I can just wipe my hand over it and it goes away. So I don't know if they have a more recent photo than the one they sent me, or they messed with it and they wiped it away. Maybe if you don't wipe it away within the first few hours of it showing up as permanent. I don't know. That's something I got to figure out. In truth, you're always learning something new when you're making these models. But this is something I'm more aware of now. If I was more conscious of it, I would have held on to the model for 24 hours to 2 days. And that's probably every model from here on out. That's what I'm going to do once it's completed. Wait 24 hours and then I'll send it out. Um, but like I said, usually right away, this is an easy fix. Just wipe your hand over it. It's done. And it's like it's never there. So hopefully they got an updated video or an updated picture, or maybe they're going to put a video on here along with the audio where the image or the locomotive slowly rotates so you can see a full 24 or a full 360-degree view. Sorry, I'm thinking about work right now, so I'm thinking time, not degrees. But that's pretty much it, right? That covers everything big, everything major. They just asked me to talk about this model as it's hopefully going to be featured a bit more, as well as some of the other customs I am working on. I'm not going to talk about them all. I know I shot to try to keep this video around 5 minutes. Obviously, we're about doubling that, but there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this paint. Working on customs, so I'm going to end it here before we get to 10 minutes. Uh, Thank you all for watching. Hopefully this is informative, and maybe in the future over on my Little Sodor Studios channel, I will have a video with some customs in front of me at different stages, and I can talk more about my process. But otherwise, I want to thank you all for watching, and have a good day.